a brand spanking new episode of the Rebel Radio podcast, and episode 402. I'm just like I still think about that. It still kind of hit me a couple weeks later, like, wow, we're over 400 episodes. That's a lot of fucking episodes.
Hell yeah, dude, that's a lot.
And we started doing movies was episode 81, so we're done 300 films. And then the first 80 episodes were a bunch of other stuff that were sometimes good, sometimes bad, maybe a little bit of both.
Maybe a bit of both.
but I do sometimes feel like since we changed formats, I think it's been a lot more good than bad. I don't feel like, I think having a focus on the show and having a retrospective every week really helped us out a lot. And I think 90% of the time we bring it, 95%.
Heck yeah, dude.
And then there's some episodes like, I think about like the Dark City episode. Great movie, but man, we botched it big time. We just kind of went over the plot the entire time, trying to explain the plot to people, and we got caught in our own words instead of talking about the film. And I'm like, man, we really botched a great film. So it happens. But then sometimes we absolutely fucking nail it. Like Seven Samurai a couple weeks ago, I think we nailed it.
Hell yeah, we nailed that one.
I saw it's going to get a 4K release this summer in theaters and probably for home viewing also. That's pretty cool. May give people a chance that have never seen it to witness it in theaters and in 4K. I mean, most of us have probably never seen Seven Samurai in theaters since its 70th anniversary. So that's pretty cool that it's getting a restoration. And the comments I was reading on the website on Rotten Tomatoes, it came across on Rotten Tomatoes site actually as getting re-released. And why is a 7-year-old movie need a 4K release? That's not what it's intended for. If I have to explain to you why you need to preserve a classic film and make it better for modern audiences, well, then you don't deserve to watch fucking movies, motherfucker.
Exactly.
And that's just the way I feel about it. It's like,
yeah, dude, it's introducing it to a new generation. And like you said, preserving it, not deleting any scenes, but just, give it a facelift.
Just like when Blu-ray came out, Blu-ray was intended for older films. New films are already shot digitally. They already look good. And when I remember the first time I watched Blade Runner in Blu-ray, I was like, wow, this is what Blu-ray is made for. It looks amazing in Blu-ray. Mm-hmm. And I think the same thing for 4K. It can make films look better and just stunning, And then there's sometimes, I think people don't understand too, when it comes to 4K, you really do have to have a nice television, a nice setup at home, for it to sometimes look proper. And sometimes people see 4K are like, well, I don't understand why it looks better. I'm like, well, maybe your TV sucks. That's just honest truth,
if your TV can't handle it, it's not going to look as good as someone who's got, UHD 4K crystal.
I mean, and sometimes it's the services you use too. Like, I mean, you and me, we share some of our streaming accounts together, and Amazon's 4K is not as good as Vudu's. It just isn't. Amazon's 4K isn't presented as well. But then you pull up a movie on Vudu or Disney Plus, it's fantastic. Their 4K presentations are great.
Yeah.
Amazon's are sometimes a little lackluster, whatever servers they're using to give you your 4K. Paramount Plus is, people don't know this, Paramount Plus advertises in 4K. Read the fine print. You only get their 4K if you also have their Showtime add-on.
Wow.
Yeah. So
did not know that.
It's actually just regular old 2K Blu-ray off Paramount Plus. Yep. People don't know that. And
did not know that.
Peacock has great 4K. Peacock movies look really good on that service, and all their WWE presentations look really good. Their live
It's only $5 a month.
Yeah. So some of it can be the streaming service itself and sometimes your TV. But there is a reason we preserve old films, because we want future generations to witness Seven Samurai, the original Godzilla, Star Wars, Star Trek, and so forth.
Yeah.
And modern films are already being preserved in the formats they were done in, but the classics need to be held on to. And it's important.
No, I agree. It's like, being able to see, not just movies that are 70 years old, but I remember, Jurassic Park was re-released in theaters, and had to take my oldest to go see it because when I saw it in theaters, it was something special. just dinosaurs for the first time, on the big screen. And then, of course, Star Wars movies that are re-released. I took Luke to go see Empire Strikes Back and Return of the King. So it's like, being able to properly pass it on to future generations is very important. And the best way to do that is on the big screen and give them that experience.
Yeah. And I do, the only thing that holds me back sometimes is the re-releases is like when they officially put a movie out for re-release, like Return of the Jedi or The Phantom Menace, you can go see it for regular movie ticket price. And I'm not a big fan of when Fathom Events does it and they want to charge you $15 a ticket. That kind of pisses me off. It's like, come on, you really need to do that? So that's kind of a little bit annoying. Like I imagine a couple of years when the 40th anniversary of the Transformers movie comes out, I think it'll be time to take the kids to see that on the big screen. Even I can watch it at home. It's just something I'd like to do. And I wish Disney and Fox would do more retro screenings than they do. They tend to just do Star Wars. I would love to see Cameron's Aliens on the big screen, something like that.
That's worth it. That's worth putting on the big screen too.
Yeah. But it's also something nice about sitting on your couch and be able to pause it and go piss when you want to.
Yeah. And then just throwing a $1 bag of popcorn into the microwave or onto the stove, however you want it. Yeah,
that's it. And you can watch it in your underwear and scratch your nuts if you want. Nobody's gonna think the wiser.
Exactly. If you want to watch Star Wars and a Darth Vader, mask, and
yeah, man, and shout Wookiee things to you. And if you shout like a Wookiee to your wife, hey, more power to you if she goes for it, brother.
Exactly. Yeah, man, she's the one. She's the one.
Right. She's a keeper if you can get away with that. I mean,
man,
she's already a keeper. She let you name one of yours Luke, so it's solid.
I got lucky. I tried to name Jake Luke, but she was like, no. And then the second time around, she was like, okay, I guess Luke's a cool name. Yeah, but she still argues with me. I'm like, you're named after Luke Skywalker. She's like, no, you're not. No, you're not.
You won one battle.
I did.
Man, so I'm starting to think this Blade movie's never going to get made.
I know, right?
Apparently lost another director. Well, if you look at the state of the MCU right now, where we're left, apparently it's every time you read this, it's creative differences. And maybe it's because Blade doesn't fit into the current MCU. The current MCU is very cosmic. Maybe Blade is more like a character like Daredevil that's going to work better as a TV show, street level. That's one thing I could think.
If you keep Spider-Man on the ground, you could introduce them like they did in the animated series in the 90s. That would make sense.
Well, my other thing with Blade too is, don't get me wrong, the Wesley Snipes films they're fine. They are what they are. We covered Blade 1. Blade 2, of course, is directed by the great Guillermo del Toro.
Mm-hmm.
Blade Trinity kind of sucked. Let's just be honest. But are they overselling Blade? Maybe he's just not that popular of a character that needs to have his own film,
Maybe it's been done, and just need to leave it alone for another decade or so.
Maybe, or introduce him in another film, and bring him along. Introduce him in, like you said, in a Spider-Man film even. You can introduce him, I don't know. I'm not sure how I feel about that. I do feel that I don't think the MCU has lost direction. I think they've lost interest at this point because, we had the big finale with Endgame, and then we had a very nice film with the third Spider-Man, which I loved.
Yes.
But since then we had Guardians 3, which was great, and that's really it. We've had the rest. Everything else has been okay. Yeah, I'm not going to hate on any of them. I'm not going to hate on Doctor Strange. I'm not going to hate on the Marvels. They were all okay.
Yeah.
But you don't have that epic hero to drive us forward. And I do get a feeling that it'll right its ship with Fantastic Four. I think we'll get going again and give it some direction. I think that's more what it is. We just lost some direction with the MCU, and they got to get it back. I mean, it's going to be a big year next year with Fantastic Four coming out and Captain America. and DC kicking off their universe with Superman Legacy or Superman, whatever it's being called now. So I comic movies will be back. They're not going anywhere. And I love what Russell Crowe had to say about making comic movies. He said he's sick and tired of hearing all these actors complaining about it. He goes, "You took the job. It's a job. Be proud you did it." And this is Russell Crowe, who was god awful in Thor: Love and Thunder, but he still did it. It's a job. They pay me to do it. I went and I had fun. He goes, and I'm proud.
He hammed it up. Yeah.
Yeah. He said, "I'm proud I did it. That's the way it should be. Stop complaining that you're in them if you chose to be in them." He's absolutely right.
Yeah. If you look at just his performance, not, whether the fact he's, what setting he's in, if you just look at his performance, he brought it. He brought his performance. He did what he was paid to do.
Yeah.
And, that's all, that's the best you can do is do a good job of what you were paid to do. Even if, maybe the script doesn't portray that character in the way the audience feels they should be portrayed. Regardless of that, do a good job. That's what you're supposed to do. Mm-hmm. Can't complain.
That's it. And then, like people say, like Ryan Reynolds, how he jokes about the Green Lantern movie and how it sucked. But, at the same time, if you really pay close attention to what Ryan Reynolds said about the movie, he never once said he was mad he made it, never disappointed he made it. I think a lot of what he says about it is tongue in cheek. He knows it could have been better. But I don't think Ryan's not proud he made it or unproud he made it. It was a film. And honestly, he's not the problem with the movie. And actually, most of the actors and the special effects aren't the problem with the movie. The problem with the movie is Martin Campbell went to Warner Brothers and said, "I need more time and money." Warner Brothers said, "No, cutting the film down to an hour and 40 minutes. That's all you get." And the rest is history. And we covered it last year. And, there's a lot of good things I like in that movie. And I think Ryan Reynolds just likes to play with social media and get people riled up over it.
Of course. He likes making a lot of things into a joke, and him at his own expense is something he also will touch. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you ever watch Rebel Moon Part 2?
No.
Well, you're going to have a chance to watch on August 2nd. The director's cuts hit Netflix, and almost 6.5 hours total between the two films. First, the director's cut part 1's like 3 hours and 12 minutes. The second one's about 3 hours and 10 minutes. So lots of Rebel Moon coming to watch. I'm like, wow, those are some long director's cuts. But, Snyder has always been, and we look at his Justice League cut, his Dawn of the Dead cut, his Sucker Punch cut. He brings it when it comes to his director's cut. So hopefully, I like the Rebel Moon movies. I know people didn't receive them real well, but I kind of enjoyed them. I like just crazy sci-fi like that. So hopefully it builds on the world a little bit more and things that I felt could have been done better in the first one. Some of the very quick character introductions, maybe we'll expand on that, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I like him as a director, and I think he does a good job. I just don't think that he always gets the best representation from fan feedback.
Yeah, no, for sure. And
at least as of late.
Yeah, as of late. And lastly, I haven't had time to watch it because it just came out today, but The Boys season 4 is hit, and season 5, they have confirmed, will be the last season, which I think it's a good thing. I don't think you want to keep going with The Boys. It loses its schnick, or what's the word, after a while.
I think Schleck.
Yeah.
Is that a Jewish term?
It's mojo. It loses
mojo. It's mojo, baby.
So I think 5 years is good with that show. And so it's good.
I mean, we don't expect it to be Days of Our Lives. No, that's for sure.
No, and just like a lot of these shows, COVID has affected it, pushing it back. So you're getting already. You've been 5 seasons, taking you 8 years to do. So maybe it's time to end it.
And you can tell they're getting older. That's like watching. I watched the first episode today, and a little bit of the second. But yeah, you can tell they're getting older. And I mean, obviously, if you saw season 3 and you saw how it ended,
time to watch that with kids running around the house.
Oh, they're running around their own room and outside, and they weren't paying attention, so I had it on. This first episode was surprise. Usually there's some crazy moment. Yeah. In the first episode, of every season. And season 1, it was obviously Huey's girlfriend. Season 2, it was the giant wiener. Season 3, I forget what happened the first episode of season 3.
Who knows?
But it was probably something crazy too. But yeah, this one I felt like it wasn't in the same level as those first 2-3 seasons of the first episode. But you know, oh yeah, there was a moment. There is a hairy butthole in this picture in this episode.
I definitely kind of watch it and just didn't, have time today.
And it comes out of nowhere, and it's fucking hilarious. And it's not like oh my god, kind of like season 2 with the termite, the Ant-Man wannabe. But yeah, so you definitely got to see it. It's but it's an hour. It's like it's an episode. Episode's an hour. But yeah, man, I think the first 3 are on, so I'm gonna have to continue watching, see if I can maybe get through it in order to properly review the launch of season 4. But yeah, season 5, man. I mean, you already shortened Butcher's lifespan. They told him at the end of season 3 he had like 6 to 8 months or something like that.
Right.
So, how are you going to stretch it? Especially if, Butcher ends up dying this season. It's like, which I don't think will happen. I think if he dies, it'll be in season 5.
Yeah. Cool, man. Yeah. Well, I did watch the first episode of The Acolyte. Man, I first off, I'm reading all kinds of things on the internet, and I think people, a lot of comments I read, if you read into what they're saying, is people just cannot get past the recent history and hatred for Star Wars. So it's like they want to nitpick every little thing. Okay, first off, I'm not saying I like The Acolyte. Bear with me a second.
Yeah.
But I feel like just like relax, people. You don't have to like everything. It's okay. And second, you don't have to be overly judgmental of everything. Now, that being said, the first episode of The Acolyte, I completely agree with what you said last week. You're introduced to these characters, and it's like, okay, who's this guy? Who's this guy? There's no development.
Yeah.
Okay. And when they sold us The Acolyte 3 years ago at Disney convention or Star Wars convention, whatever, I thought, man, we were going to get a prequel that takes place 1,000 years. It was going to be dramatic. It was going to be build up, origins of the Force type of stuff,
Yeah.
I was like thinking, instead, we're thrown into a prequel that they tell you by text that it's just 1,000 years before. And then, okay, here's what happened. There's no development of the worlds. We just know it's the Star Wars universe. You get these weird Star Trek looking characters, which fucking pisses me off. This is Star Wars. I don't want Star Trek looking characters. Okay.
Yeah.
Nothing against Star Trek looking characters, but that's that universe.
That's that universe, not this one.
You get this fight between Trinity and some chick that looks like she belongs at the mall, hanging out. And you're like, what is this? Okay. There's no development for it. It just sort of happens. And I get it. It's the first 10 minutes of the episode. But as the next 40 minutes go on for the first episode, we learn very little about that Jedi that was killed. And we've learned very little other than she has a twin about the girl that might have killed the Jedi. And we're introduced to a bunch of other Jedi. And it felt real unfocused to me, the first episode. I like the Asian dude who plays the lead Jedi. He seems good.
Yes, he's good.
I like the look of it. I mean, it definitely looks like Star Wars. The special effects, everything are fantastic as expected.
Set design,
Disney.
The effects,
and all that. But I just feel like it just sort of throws me into a new version of the Star Wars world, but it doesn't feel new. It still feels like it could take place right next to the regular prequels and not even 1,000 years before. Yeah. All they basically did was change their costumes. The Jedi, it's like, that's it. Everything else still looks like modern Star Wars. I'm like, I was really expecting 1,000 years before to look like really different.
Yeah.
And when I saw the trailers, I got some of that vibe that would look really different. Then when you see the actual show, you're like, it doesn't feel any different. It feels just kind of more of the same.
Doesn't.
And I'm just like, Even the lightsabers look exactly like a modern lightsaber. It's like you couldn't have like a cool bone-looking blade hilt like you did in Knights of the Old Republic. They could have thrown some nods in there, you know? So I was a little disappointed in just the look of it. But I'm going to get, I'll be patient with it. I'm going to watch it and see how the story plays out. I'm not going to judge it after one episode too harshly or even 3 episodes. I, what people are saying. I'll give it a chance.
Yeah.
I mean, I still love Star Wars.
You can tell who's legitimately critiquing it and who's pissed off at, The Last Jedi. The people that are like, well, you put a person who killed a Jedi Master on a ship manned by one droid. I mean, who does that? And I'm like, every James Bond movie that we loved in the 60s, right. 70s, and the 80s. I mean, and it wasn't a problem then.
The argument about the fire in space is silly.
Fire in space.
It's silly, but who cares, really, honestly?
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, George Clooney and Sandra Bullock would not have survived in Gravity the way they did, but somehow they did. It's whatever. It's just a movie.
Exactly. So it's like whenever they are critiquing that stuff, I have I'm like, okay, really? Are you just still pissed off and you're emotionally reviewing it, not intellectually reviewing it? I watched episode 2 and 3. I won't get into it, but I feel like, instead of, crescendoing, I feel like as far as my enjoyment level, I feel like I'm like enjoying it less as it goes on. But I'm going to keep watching it. In
just the first 45 minutes that I watched, the first episode, it's definitely my least favorite so far. And that's just one episode.
Yeah.
I feel like the murder mystery it's cool, but I would have built the episode up, introduced some characters, and maybe had Carrie Ann Moss's character killed towards the end of the first episode.
Yeah.
And then we're like, oh, whoa, that sucks. What happened?
Yeah.
And then you lead you on a cliffhanger to episode 2. Then you develop this mystery. Instead of the way they did it. Hopefully it gets better. Because, man, this show has been played up for, like I said, a couple of years now. They were really building this into something that was going to be like the next big thing in Star Wars. We're going to get an era we had never seen before. And all we got was set in time that we've never seen before. But the era just feels the same.
Yeah. And this is, I think it's a Star Wars movie. They said it was a Star Wars movie for people who had never seen Star Wars. And I think it's because, I don't know, part of me is like, oh, is it first for them? Because, we've been used to a lot of hits, a lot of movies that hit.
Oh, yeah, we've been spoiled, absolutely.
And now this one, it's like, if you're not a Star Wars fan, maybe you would enjoy this. But I don't know. To me, as a fan, there's things that irk me. There's a couple callbacks that I saw that was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Like in episode 2, they say the evil chick, May, she says she refers to peace being a lie. If you ever played KOTOR, whenever you have to recite the Sith code, it's peace is a lie. There is only passion. Through passion, I gain strength. Through strength, my chains are broken. The Force will set me free. And, that's, they don't say all that, but it's like, it's a callback. And I'm remembering my KOTOR days whenever I was, played KOTOR 1 and 2. And then was disappointed when there was not a third one. Instead, there was the Jedi Academy, which I did not play because I was like, I'm used to KOTOR. Used to building my lightsaber, my skill tree, and trying to figure out if I was going to be more light or dark or gray Jedi.
Right.
Which I've heard that, I don't know if it's true. I saw some screenshot. I couldn't tell if it was fake or not. That IGN pointed may have reported that Kathleen Kennedy doesn't want to refer to the Force as a light or a dark side. Okay, I thought that was fake because I'm like, I could only find reproductions of it on like meme sites, and I'm like, I think this is fake. I was like,
and that's another thing. I'm so sick of these fanboys blaming Kathleen Kennedy. Okay, first off, she's not perfect. She's a human. she's going to have hits, she's going to have misses. But if you look at her, I was looking at her IMDb page. Most of her career is highly successful. There's a reason George and Disney put her in place when George handed the company over. He trusts her. She's an amazing producer who's had probably one of the most successful female producers ever in the history of film. And she's not perfect. She also isn't writing these things. She's a producer. She's suggesting ideas. Okay. And yes, she does sign off on some things. And sometimes when you read a script, maybe it comes off really good on paper. And then when you see the actual product, it doesn't work. But let's be honest. Majority of the Disney era Star Wars stuff has at least been okay. There hasn't been anything truly bad. You know, it's not like we're having anything. There's been nothing god awful. And if you don't like it or don't, and then people say they ruined my Star Wars. No, they didn't. Your Star Wars is still there. You can still go watch Luke, Han, and Leia in episodes 4, 5, and 6. No one ruins your Star Wars. You don't have to watch the other stuff. It's simply there for people that want to expand on the universe. And that really annoys me when I see people want to blame Kathleen Kennedy and things like that. I'm like, do you realize what this lady has done? What are you doing? You're sitting there on the internet complaining. You're not even nearly as successful as she is. At least as far as financial stability and what you've done in your career. I'm not saying you're not successful. Anybody that complains with their families and their lives, but you're not Kathleen Kennedy. So shut up.
Yeah.
And
it's like, I know, you're going to have hits and misses when you're trying to introduce a new generation to Star Wars. And, you're trying to be, there's times when you need to change things up and do something different. And there's times when the right thing to do is what you've always done.
Right.
And, maybe we'll come to that conclusion later that, hey,
and I don't think they've done anything
that
drastically different. I mean, Rian Johnson.
Little tweaks.
Rian Johnson took some risks with The Last Jedi. I know why I liked him, but I still don't think anything he did was so drastically different that it should piss you off to the point where you don't want to watch Star Wars.
Yeah.
If it does, that's ridiculous, And honestly, Rian Johnson's changes in Last Jedi are probably still bigger than any of the TV series have done, if we're being honest.
Yeah. I mean, we're still talking about it today.
And
that's how big of a change it was.
And it doesn't even bother me because I think The Last Jedi is a really good film. I mean, would I have maybe done some things differently? Sure. But I think the biggest problem with Last Jedi is not the fact that it's different. It's the fact that it created problems for The Rise of Skywalker, because then they asked J.J. Abrams to go and make it a more fun adventure film again, and he had to kind of throw something together, which I like The Rise of Skywalker, but you can tell it was trying to fix things,
Yeah.
So I think that's the biggest problem. It's almost like at that point, just leave Rian Johnson do part 3. Maybe it would have come out just fine,
Yeah. I feel like, maybe they took fan input on Rise of Skywalker. They're like, what should we do? Bring back the Emperor. Oh, yeah, right. Hell yeah. Well, how are we going to do that? I don't know, dude. He just as a clone, like in The Sixth Day with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Oh, yeah, that'll work. And then bring back every Jedi as a Force ghost. Oh, yeah, that'll be cool. And, it's like, yeah, just too much. Oh, let's have Rey train like Luke trained in Star Wars Episode 5. Let's take like the best of like these random moments in Star Wars and like slap it into a movie. And they're like, what would make it even cooler? What if Rey was a Skywalker? It's just like, I'm Rey Skywalker now.
That was cool in the Acolyte. The orange lightsaber was cool.
Yeah.
Have a mix between her yellow one and that one. That's pretty cool.
And then they always had these different lightsaber colors, and we never got them in some of these other films. And it is cool to see some stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'll
watch it and give it a chance. I mean, I'm never going to not watch something Star Wars. I mean, it's very rare that I don't,
Yeah.
And so it's fine. I mean, that's really all I watched this week. I've been watching Fairy Tale, the anime, about 6 episodes in. It's like 400 episodes. I don't know how far I'll go, but I like it, man. It's funny. It's well written. It's action packed. It really is funny. There's a running gag where one of the wizards keeps losing his clothes, and you would think that it would get old after a while, but the timing of it is just, wow, these writers, they're pulling this off. Like, it's funny every time because it's snappy. Like, they just do a good job with the comedy of it. And I know I don't like comedy. Apparently.
It was one of the. It was supposed to be like the best anime of 2009.
Yeah.
And it was like a really hot anime for years after that too.
Yeah, no, it's good. I like it. And been watching that, and I've been watching some more One Piece episodes. I'm, about 27 episodes in, only about 1,785 more to go, or whatever it is. Yeah. That's Jesus Christ. Is it now the longest running? I think there's one show that runs longer, if I remember right.
Oof.
There's some other show, but it's not as popular as One Piece. I think that's
The Simpsons.
Well, no, anime. I think there's some other anime. It's like 2,000 episodes. It's like just barely ahead of One Piece. I'd have to look it up, but it's crazy how long that show's been running.
Yeah, man. I still can't believe it. It's like to try and catch up. I think I only saw like the first like 2 or 3 seasons, and now I'm just like, man, I'm so far behind. Could I even get caught up?
I think I had not, and I'll be honest, I hadn't even heard of the show until about 5 years ago. I had never even heard of it. And,
wow.
And no idea how popular it was. I guess it just missed me somehow. It's been around that long.
For me, it was like, I watched it because it was on, and I liked and I can't remember the character's name, but he has 3 swords. Zoro, yeah. And I always liked his character. But it's like, I don't know, I could never really get into it. It wasn't just my bag. It wasn't my bag, baby.
There's a lot of filler episodes in it, just like a lot of animation from that time.
Yeah. I liked Naruto, and Naruto has a lot of filler episodes in it. There used to be sites that would dedicate to pointing out which episodes on which anime were filler. And so they're like, yeah, watch, 1 through 10, skip 2 and skip 13 and 14, and
well, then there's been a lot of complaints about One Piece recently, saying that there's a lot of fan service in it now. Nami's always in a bikini, and Nico Robin's always jiggling and things like that. Mm-hmm. But I think though, as the viewers of the show get older and things like that, I mean, the characters get older too. I think that you raise the maturity levels of a little bit. It's not like they're flashing anything or anything. There's just fan service in the show, and so the show has taken some backlash for that over the last couple of years. But you know what? I'm all about fan service for anime.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. That's like Beast Gohan was a fan service thing that happened with Dragon Ball Superhero.
Yeah, apparently Fairy Tail has quite a bit of fan service once you get into pretty good into the first season. You get a lot of the wizards get their clothes torn off as they're fighting and things like that.
I'm trying to remember. Is that the one where the main character is a human and he gets sent to a world where he is like stronger than everybody else?
Not right now. The main character is Lucy right now. It's a girl.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of a different anime. I may have to rewatch a couple episodes so I can remember which anime we're talking about as you progress.
But that's really all I kind of watched this week. That's about it.
Yeah. I continued on with the Acolyte, watched episode 2 and 3, and then did watch the first episode of The Boys. I liked it. I feel like it's picking up right where it left off, and it feels like what you would see in a boys movie. The plot is thickening a little bit, because it's like at the end you see Singer and the chick who's actually a soup that can blow people's heads off. They've teamed up, and the plot kind of thickens with them, and I think they've done a good job of keeping it interesting so far, and not just kind of being the same old, but keeping the same old stuff that makes it successful. And then I watched. I bought it. I didn't get a nice copy for myself, but I did get it digitally, and that was Godzilla -1. And I had the wife watch it, and at first she was like, "We are not watching a Godzilla film," and I'm like, "I'm telling you, this is going to." I was like, "This is going to change your mind about Godzilla films going forward. This is gonna make you a Godzilla fan watching this film." And we watched it, and she was just like, "Wow, that was a good movie." And she's like, I did not expect it. You were right. This is a great film. And she's like, well, how come Godzilla's like terrorizing everybody? And I had to explain to her. I was like, well, there's like been different versions of Godzilla throughout time. Sometimes he helps humans. Sometimes he doesn't. Sometimes he's, maniacal and, tears everything up.
When we're done recording, you go and you pat her on her head for me and say, good job. Mark said, good job.
Yes. Good opinion. Good opinion.
And she'll slug me the next time she sees me, but it'll be worth it.
Uh-huh. I was hoping, I know -1 made it to Netflix, but I was hoping -1 Minus Color had made it to Netflix.
Yeah.
But
and then Netflix, I mean, I don't, they may have it in 4K. I don't have 4K Netflix. I downgraded my Netflix to just the regular HD because it was silly to pay $8 more a month. And, but it still looks good on Netflix, good presentation, everything. And, and the ad version of Netflix really isn't that bad. Like most animes, there's no ads on the 30-minute shows. And even in -1, I think it only did like 3 ad breaks of 2 minutes and less. So really the Netflix ad version is not that bad.
Okay.
But no, I want to get it in 4. I'm a little disappointed that Vudu separated it. It's like you buy the 4K, why can't you get the minus color with it?
Exactly.
It's kind of annoying that they separated it. And then they only offer a bundle. I'm kind of waiting. Hopefully it goes on sale or goes for a bundle because I want to get it because it feels like we're not going to get. I don't know if we're ever going to get an official 4K physical release in America. Hopefully we will, but it just doesn't feel good right now. We're even close to getting it.
Maybe I should have waited because it's like I could see them doing something like that. It'd be cool if they released them both for like, even $20.
The minus color version is not even in 4K. It's just in regular HD, which I thought was interesting. But that is what it is.
She did make fun of. I don't applaud Jackie too soon. She did make fun of Godzilla a little bit. She's like, "That looks like a turd," and I was like, "What?" I was like, "Take that back." She's like, "Okay." It's a turd
for $15
with spikes.
Like, come on.
She said turd with spikes. And I was like, dude, this movie looks way better than the Michael Myers films that were made for like the same money. I was like, yeah, as far as like, Godzilla, there's some shots where you're like, oh, okay, I can kind of see
Matthew Broderick film?
No. So the Michael Myers films were made on the same budget.
Oh, the Halloween films.
But no one's like, oh man, this film looks so good. It's shot so well.
Yeah.
But it's like they were able to make something way more memorable and way more, be talked about way more for that amount of budget. And they just, and I think it can make casual fans, fair weather fans of Godzilla, I guess, into, big fans and recognize, the impact that this film has and how good it is.
Spectacular movie.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I love it. Absolutely love it. Cool, man. Ready to get today's feature film, I guess?
Hell yeah, dude. Let's do it.
So, man, we're continuing on with our summer of blockbuster films, and we're going to continue with a movie that was a big hit as they attempted with this film, and I wouldn't say attempted, they did it. Brought together the cast from the first 3 X-Men films, and then from the soft reboot X-Men First Class, and they brought them together into one film, and they made a loose adaptation of the very popular comic book series Days of Future Past with this film, with X-Men Days of Future Past. And when I say loose adaptation, it's mostly an adaptation
the plot
by name.
Is taken. Yeah.
The plot, some of the plot is taken, some of the future plot, and to save the future. And then the name, but that's about where it stops, honestly. There's no Kitty Pryde in this, and there is Kitty Pryde, but there's just a lot of changes from the original version.
Yeah, there's some people missing.
Yeah. But for the most part, it tells a solid story from the Days of Future Past comic. As in the future, the Sentinels have become basically self-aware and are hunting down mutants everywhere. And Xavier figures out that they pinpointed to one point in time in which Mystique kills Bolivar Trask, and believes that she does this in front of the nation, so the nation believes mutants are bad, and the nation vows to get rid of all mutants. And now in about 60, was it year 2022 or something like that? It's not super far into the future, if I remember correctly. The mutants are being hunted down, and there's a war between the humans and mutants, and so they decide to use Rogue's powers of her mind control to send someone's mind back in time into their time self that Kitty time. Kitty Pryde's. Oh, yeah, I don't know why I said Rogue, but
there was a deleted scene.
That's why they call it the Rogue cut. That's what I was thinking. Yeah. So he's saying use Kitty Pryde's powers to send Logan back in time to his current self because he can heal. And he has to find the professor of that time. And basically was James McAvoy's version of Professor X to stop Mystique from killing Trask and preventing the war. But it all does not go the way they planned as they bring Magneto in too and rescue him to help with the cause. But Magneto as always, has his own agendas. And they are able to stop the war for the moment, but it allows for things to leap forward and kind of ties into it's weird how they retconned it, but it also ties directly into bringing us back to the original X-Men film. It's kind of cold. It was kind of weird how they did all that, which I thought was cool. But then they did X-Men Apocalypse, which was okay. And then they did that Dark Phoenix movie, which wasn't good. And they never went anywhere with it because that's what we know now. They're going to be part of the MCU. But those aren't the movies we're talking about. We're talking about X-Men Days of Future Past.
Yes.
Overall, this movie is it's extremely well paced. For a 2-hour film, it goes by very quickly, which is strange because also for an X-Men film, it might have the least amount of action. There's a lot of small scenes where things happen, but there's not a lot of big budget, high octane action scenes in this. In fact, like, why does Magneto move the stadium? There's no fucking reason for it other than to have a big moment in this film. But then nothing happens. It's a bunch of talking. There's no fight with Magneto. The movie just sort of ends when they convince Magneto that you can't do this. So it's kind of weird how X-Men Days of Future Past plays, because yet it also at the same time feels really epic.
Yeah. No, yeah. Yeah, now that you think about it, it's like the battle scenes, the best battle scenes all take place in the future, of course, with the Sentinels. And just the mutants, futile attempts to try and stop the Sentinels. And it just looks like these things this is like Terminator, but for X-Men. Right. The Sentinels have become self-aware. But yeah. And they use Mystique's power, and I thought that was pretty cool. A cool aspect, even though they didn't look like the ones from the X-Men series,
but I like that series. They look a little different.
Yeah. They're scary, dude. They're scarier. I know they chose this version of X-Men, the story, in order to retcon X3 a little bit and get the franchise back on track, which I felt like they got it back on track with X-Men.
It wasn't really. First Class. What's funny is it wasn't even that off track. Yeah, it was like you said, they got it on track with First Class. Yeah,
I think maybe Singer just wanted to do it so that he could, basically make the universe more of what he would have had done. I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe
I think so. Yeah,
probably it. We said we would not end this episode without talking about Hugh Jackman's butt cheeks. And I read that the only reason that his ass is jiggling getting out of the bed in 1973 after banging the boss's daughter is because he's from Australia, mate, and you don't get out of the bed in boxer shorts when you're next to a hot woman.
Yes, I'm watching it, and the daughter walks in the room, or she pays attention, she's like, Dad, is that Wolverine? I say, yeah. Why is his butt on TV? Oh, I'm like, well, because why was he in the bed naked? I'm like, these are adult questions. I'm not answering right now.
You should have been like, well, hold on. This is the new Wolverine.
Yeah, so maybe he was hot and he just didn't want to sleep with any clothes on.
Yeah, it's
And
the
she's like,
70s, baby.
well, I get hot in bed. I leave my underwear on. I'm like, well, you're a kid. I was like,
Damn it. You're trying to fight with that logic that they have.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
Like, damn it, it's hot out there. It's hotter than you know.
What's funny is he was a little uncomfortable with doing the scene because he was like, man, but they convinced him because he's not really. He's like, I know I'm in great shape, but I really don't want to do this.
Yeah, and it's his 7th appearance if you count his cameo in X-Men First Class, and
I'm glad they called back to that with his conversation with Professor Xavier.
Yeah, he's like, we went to you before, and what'd you tell us? Fuck off. Yeah. You fuck off. But dude got jacked. I think he was like, what, 50 when he did this film?
I think, yeah, and I think this is like his best looking Wolverine.
Yes.
As far as his physique and the way he carries himself, he's very, very comfortable with the role by the time he got to this film, you know.
Yeah, he definitely had his workout regimen down packed by the time he got to this by the time he got to this movie. It could be the best he's ever looked in the role. He's friggin', jacked, dude, like way jacked. He's jacked Jackman, he's Jackedman. There we go. That's how you'd put it. He's huge Jackedman. But yeah, man, his veins are freaking popping out.
Quite 50. He'll be 56 this year, and this was 10 years ago, so he's about 45.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. That makes sense. But man,
still for that age, yeah.
For that age, I mean, he looks good now in the promos of Deadpool Wolverine, but you can tell he's just put on more muscle, for this role. And and then he's covered up for the end of it. We don't get the white tank or anything like that, like in the other films. Like he's X2, right. He's fucking drinking a beer in the kitchen with the white tank top. Logan, he's running through the woods, white tank top.
But he had the man boobs jiggling in Logan.
Yeah, he had to look like it a little out of shape. Yeah. But man, dude, yeah, just different. And at X3, I think X3, he was in the woods. Like whenever he fought the dude that was throwing spikes out of his body.
Yeah.
He fought him in a tank top. But yeah, he's of course dressed 70s, and he's got the bone claws. Some people don't like the bone claws, but that's his origin story. That's where it came from. I like the nods to Weapon X in the film. Young Snyder.
And I think people forgot, or Stryker, you mean?
Stryker.
And yeah, I think people forgot, though. I think people didn't see the Wolverine. So they went to see Days of Future Past. I remember people asking, well, why does he have bone claws? Like, did you watch the Wolverine? No. I'm like, well, if you watch the Wolverine, you would know why.
Yes.
I think that would cause a lot of problems for people because they had not seen the previous film.
Yeah. And, if you don't watch and you're not familiar with the character, then you just don't know. I do think it's weird that they call him, the boss's daughter calls him Jimmy, and his name's supposed to be James. Is Jimmy short for James?
Yes. Jim.
Oh,
Jamie,
okay.
Yeah. You didn't know that?
No, I thought it was, oh yeah, I guess so. Cause, Kirk, he's James Kirk, and they call him Jim all the time.
Yep.
I guess I didn't realize that.
I was today years old.
Today years old.
Yeah.
But yeah, one thing I didn't realize before is just because I was just like, Lawrence J. Law as Mystique is disguised as Trask, and she's flipping through the autopsy pictures, and I was just like, dead body. This time I realized, I was like, hey, these are all people from First Class that they used and experimented on. From the was that supposed to be like the Bay of Pigs?
Kinda,
Cuba? Yeah. I like that again, how they tie it to real world events. It's like, they're sending mutants off to Vietnam. I'm sure that's what would happen if in this universe. sending them to the front lines, stuff like that. But yeah, man, did not realize that until I watched this film, and I was watching it a little bit more focused, say more focused, and I was just like, oh crap, that's the chick with the fly wings. There's Banshee. There's crap, I can't remember. Azazel.
Yeah. Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, the demon looking dude with the swords and the teleportation. Yeah. So that's something I didn't recognize. And I don't like how Jennifer Lawrence looks in the makeup, but I like her.
Yes, I agree. The makeup always looked off on her, even in First Class. It just looks like, I don't know, it doesn't look right.
It doesn't. I think the Rebecca looked better in the makeup.
Well, I think you have to have, not that Jennifer Lawrence doesn't have a great body, but I think you have to have the right body shape and form to pull off that kind of makeup look when you're doing full body makeup. And it doesn't work as well in Jennifer Lawrence's body compared to Rebecca's. I think is part of the problem. Rebecca had a wider face, had a more toned body, where Jennifer Lawrence is a little bit thinner, a little bit,
curvier,
not as wide. Yeah. And she's still good in the role, but the makeup she almost looks like a child when the makeup's on her.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good comparison. The hair. Yeah.
I think Singer knew it too, because Singer would do things like he focuses more in on her eyes and close-ups, because I think he knew that the makeup looked a little off,
Yeah. That makes sense, because it's like the only time you see a full body shot in this one is whenever her legs are like spread apart and you kind of see those butt cheeks.
Yeah.
Those blue butt cheeks in the air.
Yes. That was another thing Waverly mentioned. Daddy, you can see her butt. Yes, Waverly.
Yes. This is why we're reviewing the movie, Waverly. Stop. You're ruining the moment.
And that is a scene that scene kind of I don't like whenever at the summit, and when she tries to first kill Trask and Logan and them show up. I don't like the back and forth with the 70s millimeter cams, like the real looking footage with the live footage. I don't like the use of that in this movie for some reason. That's the one thing I would do different. It kind of annoys me. It takes me out of the movie a little bit. I don't see a reason for it, like if you're showing the newscast, like after the event happens, okay. But while the actual fight's going on, I don't understand. I guess it's for effect. But we're already aware this is the 1970s. We don't really need. I guess Brian was just trying to try something different there with his editing and things like that. But it's kind of weird.
Yeah, and that would be the only purpose of like having that filmed in like an old gritty 75 millimeter camera, is to portray the times that the X-Men are now in. But like you said, it's already explained to us that they're in 1973. Yeah. So it's like, it's a moot point at that point.
Why are you doing this in that scene? Yeah. Let's back up a little bit before they go to that scene. They need some help breaking Magneto out. And so Logan says, hey, I might know a guy. He's going to be pretty young, but let's see if he'll help us. And so we're introduced to a very young Quicksilver, who doesn't know at this point that Magneto's his dad and all that. And played by Evan Peters, who's fantastic. And this is a scene that when I first saw Days of Future Past, this is strange. I didn't really like the scene that much. I was like, it's kind of weird. He's going super fast. Why is everything slow? I had like a mental moment of like trying to, explain this to me in my head. He's going super fast, but the cameras are slow. Is that, I couldn't wrap my head around it mentally, how to take this scene in.
Yeah.
And now as time has gone by, I get it. I appreciate it. They use the same methods in The Flash, and they've done it in other Speedster movies. So I get it now to show you the action. But at the time, I'm like, why is this slowed down? Can't you just go around the room really fast and rescue Magneto and we're done? But for dramatic effect, I don't know. Yep. Does that make sense? Logically, it was like, when I first saw this movie, I'm like, what? Why are we doing this? It's like, it's weird.
And then he's got to taste the pea soup that's in the air.
But it's cool now. I like it now. Then they repeat the scene, and is it the next one there? Yeah, it's in Apocalypse. They do something similar, and it's like, at that point, it kind of, okay, we've lost its luster now. We didn't need to do it again.
Yeah.
When they blow up the X Mansion, that's when they use it in the second one.
Yeah, when Nathan Summers, or not Nathan Summers, when Scott's older brother, Sunspot, is it Sunspot? Yeah, Sunspot.
Apocalypse I've only seen a couple times. I don't remember it all.
Yeah, they teleport out of there, causing him to shoot the reactor on accident.
Yeah.
And he runs in and gets everybody out except for him.
Yeah.
But yeah, X-Men Apocalypse.
But it's cool that scene nowadays of Future Past. It works, and I think it helps with.
It does.
Like I was talking about earlier, how this film is very well paced, and I think that scene helps with the pacing of this film. It gives you this really cool scene break in the middle of the film, cool
and the comedy.
Sequence. Yes.
So, man, what'd you do? What'd you do? So you know karate? I don't know karate, but I do know crazy.
and how good is Fassbender, man? We've talked about before. He's always been a really good actor, and he plays Magneto with a almost a straight man mentality with the humor like that, but yet also has his moral beliefs of what Magneto is, and Fassbender's very good at it, just as Ian McKellen is. And I think that's what's cool in this film is we get to see Ian in the bookends of this film as the older Magneto, and we get to see young Fassbender in this, and you get to see how both of them are so great in that role, you know?
Yeah, man. And then just whenever he's, pissed off and bends the plane, starts jacking with the plane while they're on trajectory. And then, of course, he always takes things too far. Like you said, they get to, Raven and try and disrupt what she's going to do at the summit. And Magneto's like, Charles is like, yeah, we just got to stop her from doing it. And Magneto's like, yes, by killing her. Like, no, not by killing her. Like, damn it. Eric, why do you have to kill everybody?
Yeah. And then we got a young Nicholas Hoult in this movie playing Beast, who's very good in the movie too.
Oh yeah.
This is Nicholas Hoult before he did Fury Road a couple years later. Now he's going to be Lex Luthor, which I think he's going to be freaking pretty bad. That's one thing in James Gunn's film I'm excited about. I think Holt's going to be a fucking badass Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
He's got that vibe to him. So it's cool to see him. McAvoy is and I'm glad they gave McAvoy and Patrick Stewart a moment in this film whenever he uses his telepathic power to talk to his young self and kind of guide him. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah. I like that part. It was a part in the trailer that you didn't know what was going on in that scene where he's like, I don't want your future. Yeah. He's like, look past my future. Mm-hmm. It's like, look at your future. And and then of course Patrick Stewart's character afterwards, they're like, oh, let's just pull the plug on Logan right now. He's like, no, he's like, I had a glimpse into the past. It could lead us into a much darker path.
Right. Yeah.
But
man,
good scene.
And the film actually does kind of end with a lot of unknown factors. As Logan is captured in the 1970s, we know he's going to lead to him in the Weapon X project.
Yes.
The future seems saved, but you can tell they don't feel like, is it all done? And there was so much, a little disappointing. There was so much set up in this that they never really came around to. They sort of decided, because Bryan Singer did not come back for the next one. So they brought in Katzenberg to direct, and they just sort of straight jumped into another Villain of the Week movie, and they didn't even use Apocalypse properly at all. No. So it was very disappointing to see where X-Men could have gone after this film, and it didn't go there. We got that, and then we got the Dark Phoenix movie, which was a throwaway at that point because Marvel or Disney had bought Fox. We did at least get one more great X-Men film with the Logan film after this. I never did watch the New Mutants movie, but I heard it was kind of throwaway too.
Yeah, it was.
But there's a lot of great setup for Days of Future Past that just never went anywhere, unfortunately.
Yeah,
and that's probably the most disappointing part of it.
It's like he righted his wrong just to commit the same wrong that he created. He didn't stick around for X3. Came back for First Class, Days of Future Past, and then on the third film of this installment, just like the third film of the other installment, he does not come back.
Yeah. and now he's not really working anymore, unfortunately, to allegations that were, and I say unfortunately because I do think Bryan Singer has a lot of talent, and I will not accuse him of anything because I don't think anything was ever proven with him, if I remember correctly. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but I think it was just allegations.
Yeah.
But during the whole Me Too movement a few years back, that a lot of people that was affected, and Bryan Singer was one of them. But he did direct the highly successful Bohemian Rhapsody. I think that's the last big film he did, and maybe one day he'll be given a shot to come back and make another film, because he's given us some good ones. He gave us some good X-Men films. The Usual Suspects was very good. So
I mean,
Rhapsody was good.
It's the first X-Men movie to be nominated for an Oscar. It's nominated for Best Visual Effects. So it's got to say something about his direction. Yeah, for sure. But I like X-Men: Days of Future Past. It's a really good film, and it works well. And but as we move forward, next week we are going to continue our blockbuster summer. We're going to stay with Marvel pre the MCU, as we're going to talk a film that we briefly discussed a few years ago during our tribute to Stan Lee. After Stan Lee's passing, we kind of Spider-Man 2 is kind of our featured film that week in a way, but we didn't really go fully in depth because that was more about Stan Lee and his legacy. So this next week we're going to go fully in depth, and we're going to talk the second sequel in Sam Raimi's trilogy, and or the first sequel, the second movie, and that is Spider-Man 2.
I believe there's a hero in all of us. Gives us strength, makes us noble. Even though sometimes we have to give up the thing we want the most.
Parker!
Where you been? Looking for you all morning.
You're late.
Always late!
You're fired.
Look at you, Peter. Your grades have been declining. You always appear exhausted.
I know, I'm trying.
Where you been, pal? You don't return my calls.
I've been kind of busy.
Taking pictures of your friend. Spider-Man killed my father.
No matter what I do,
do you love me or not?
No matter how hard I try,
I want Spider-Man dead.
It's the ones I love who will always be the ones who pay.
I can't keep thinking about you. I'm getting married.
I want a life of my own. I'm Spider-Man. No more.
You look different.
I let things get in the way before. There was something I thought I had to do. I don't have to.
I liked seeing you tonight, Peter.
Now on to the main event.
Octavius is going to put Oscorp on the map in a way my father never even dreamed of.
Crazy scientist turns himself into some kind of a monster. 4 mechanical arms welded right onto his body.
You take Spider-Man's pictures. Where is he?
He's ticking me off your loyalty to Spider-Man and not your best friend. Bring Spider-Man to me.
How do I find him?
Peter Parker.
Find Spider-Man, or I'll peel the flesh off her bones.
There are bigger things happening here than me and you.
And this is a movie that's still one of the best of the comic movies to this day.
Yes.
Still a great film, great performances all around in this movie from the I can't think of the actor's name, plays Dr. Octopus. It's failing me right now, but just overall.
Yeah. I know what you're thinking about.
Alfred Molina. Yeah.
Molina. Yeah.
Who people forget made a brief cameo at the beginning of Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That bastard. He got what was coming to him too.
That's right. He got what he deserved. And
he was also in the movie Species, and he had sex with an alien who used his seed to make another alien baby, and she killed him. So he died there too. Fucking, that's what you get for stealing from Indiana Jones.
Bad guys, you get killed.
Yeah.
But yeah, so random facts about Alfred Molina, and we'll come up with more for Spider-Man 2 next week. But it should be a fun one, man. It's a good movie. It should be fun to watch as our blockbuster summer continues. But oh geez, but the rubberradiopodcast.com for all your Rubber Radio needs, and we thank you as always for listening. Continue to be safe out there and have a good week. And this has been Mark.
This has been Matt.
And remember, as always, until next time, just go there
and do it.